One year she tried to do like pumpkin stuff. That was
this is a proposed rule hearing that we're holding here today. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. And we want you to know that your comments and input are very important to us. We are here today to discuss proposed rules changes to be entered into the Alabama Administrative Code. Allow me first of all to introduce our staff and board members. To my immediate right is Tammy Wallace, our Executive Director. To my immediate left is Alice Addison, our Legal Counsel. Starting at my far left, Dr. T.C. Branch from Birmingham, Ms. Debbie Whitten from Birmingham, Dr. Ronnie Welch from Wetumpka, our investigator David Phillips, Dr. Pat Trotter from Prattville, and Dr. Bobby Martin from Dothan. Again, I want to thank you for being here. Today this meeting is being held for the purpose of taking comments regarding the proposed rules on it. The proposed rules do not change existing law, but rather address and clarify the Alabama Practice Act. Please limit your comments to the rule being discussed, as you will be limited to 2 minutes. With this basic format, we will begin. If you're chosen to speak, and we'll choose 5 pros and 5 cons from the stack of blue cards that were submitted. And with that in mind, we'll start. And what I'll do is I'll read through the proposed rule changes, and have you been, you'll let me know when somebody wants to speak and address one of these rules. Okay. Well, we've got a lot of work to do today, and that's why we're limiting the speaking time to 2 minutes. So I'll get started reading through this stuff, and hopefully we'll get through by noon. The first rule number is 930-X-1-01, and it has to do with definitions. For purposes of defining and clarifying the following terms in the Administrative Code 930-X-1, the following definitions have been ascribed by this rule. 501c3, the organization. If a 501c3 status is required for purposes of establishing a non-profit veterinary practice, all veterinary practice owners shall be licensed veterinarians. And A, under that, if a 501c3 status is acquired for purposes of establishing a non-profit veterinary practice, oh, well, I read that one already. B, only LVTs that have been issued a certificate of qualification by the ASBVME shall be allowed to use the title of LVT. C, concerns practice owner. Any licensed veterinarian or group of licensed veterinarians who has the ability to sell a veterinary practice without approval or authority or any other non-licensed individual shall be defined as a veterinary practice owner. Proof of ownership, though not limited to the following, shall consist of the following: articles of corporation, Form 990, personal tax return, employee's contract, AAA financials. And those are the proposed changes in the definitions. Did anybody, someone there? The next one is Rule 930-X-1, 9-30-05, and it has to do with forms, and the forms that, the one form that was added is application for renewal of a 501c3. The next rule has to do with fees that are charged by the board, and they're all listed. There's about 20 or 30 of them, but we were told by the Sunset Committee that we couldn't have language in there not to exceed, so we had to put a specific dollar amount, and that covers all those fees. The next rule is 930-X-1-08, and it just has to do with inactive license and getting the fees posted to that to renew them. This was moved from another rule. No. Nobody signed it to speak to these people. They put down the rule they wanted to speak.
All of these on the last rule.
Does anybody have any comments on rules that we've covered so far?
We can't hear them back there. We can't hear you at all.
You can't? I'm
No.
sorry, I can't,
You don't have a
What-
microphone or
No,
anything?
ma'am, I don't. I didn't know this room was gonna be 150 feet long.
Yeah, stand up for that.
Okay, that's what it's facing.
Perhaps the gentleman could speak a little louder because it is very difficult to hear in the back and the people that are outside. We've got standing room only with 20 or 30 people standing, every seat filled, the 65 or 75 seats, maybe another 10 or 15 people out in the room, and we would all like to hear what's going on.
Okay, well, we're certainly glad to have every one of you here today. Are these the microphones? Okay. Well, we're certainly glad to have you all here today, and so far you really haven't missed anything.
Can we be the judge of that?
Okay, the next rule is 930-X-1-10. Has to do with rules of conduct and grounds for discipline. And this has to do with partnership or employment in practice of veterinary medicine not to be for non-licensed persons. Exception. Whenever the practice of veterinary medicine is carried on by a partnership, all partners shall be either licensed or holders of temporary license to practice veterinary medicine in the state of Alabama. Section B. It shall be unlawful for any licensed veterinarian to practice veterinary medicine as an employee of any person or other entity not engaged primarily in the practice of veterinary medicine, or for any person that is the owner or owners of an active veterinary practice to be other than a veterinarian or veterinarians duly licensed in the state of Alabama. The following shall be exempt from this section. A veterinarian is employed by a person treating his or her employer's animals. Number 2, a veterinarian employed by an official agency of the federal or state government or any subdivision thereof. Number 3, a veterinarian employed by any licensed research facility. Number 4, an heir or heirs inheriting under the terms of a will or by intestate succession for a period of 2 years following the death of the licensee. Number 22 under that section, no person shall practice veterinary medicine unless a person holds an active license to practice veterinary medicine in the state of Alabama. Now, this is not a new law. It's not a new rule, it just clarifies that particular law. The next rule is 930-X-1-11, and it has to do with prescribing and dispensing drugs. And the only thing it does is changes a patient-veterinarian relationship to veterinary client-patient relationship. And it does that in 3 places. The next rule is 930-X-1-12, and it has to do with continuing education requirements. There is some inaccuracies in the way Section D is written, and this will be addressed by the board at a later date. And it just has to do with how they can accumulate the 20 hours required every year for renewing their license. Okay, Rule 930-X-1-13 has to do with controlled substances, and it just has to do with some house cleaning on that as far as what is written on prescription labels. Rule 930-X-1-17 deletes the part about a grievance committee because they're no longer functioning. (930-X-1-31) has to do with minimum standards and record keeping, and it makes an exception on record keeping on individual animals on herds or flocks, and it says that herd or flock animal records may be kept on a per client rather than a per animal basis. One of the minimum standards says you have to have an adequate test to diagnose heartworm infestation. (930-X-1-32) has to deal with minimum standards for mobile premises, and they basically have to have everything a freestanding premise does, or service contracts that provides those services. (930-X-1-34) has to deal with the Alabama Veterinary Professionals Wellness Committee, and it just added the word licensed in front of all veterinary technicians and veterinarians in that section. (930-X-1-35) has to do with certified euthanasia technicians for the humane euthanasia of animals. It has to do with the fees for them, and there was some issue with that, so we had to take that out. And the carbon monoxide chambers were taken out. So requirements that used to pertain to carbon monoxide chambers are now out of the Practice Act because they're illegal to use. And it defines what substances can be used for euthanasia drugs. And it's a pretty lengthy list there. 930-X-1-36 has to do with the registered animal euthanasia facility, and it just sets a fee for them for $300.
Sir, could I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
With regard to euthanasia, what does it cost, or maybe you do know or don't, to euthanize an animal in a municipal facility? You said, what does it cost for the vet to do it?
With all due respect, we're not here to discuss that today. That information is available in other places. We're just going to discuss proposed rule changes today.
Well, you said $300 for...
That's for the
vet.
euthanasia facility to register.
Okay, and the
Okay.
euthanasia of the animal itself, of the vet.
We're not going to get into that. This is for the facility.
Okay, will you at some point?
Probably not today, but that information is available. We're just trying to clarify some rules here, and that's what we're focused on today. Rule 930-X-1-37 has to do with professional conduct for veterinary technicians, and it just changed the word license and all that. Not really anything significant like that. Now we come to one that seems to be real popular this morning, is Rule 930-X-1-39. And it has to do with exercise of independent professional judgment by veterinarians, prohibited business arrangements or relationships. And this, I'll read this rule entirely because it has seemed to gather a lot of interest this morning. No person, the first part of it says, no person other than a veterinarian licensed pursuant to 3429-76 and 3429-87 may do the following. Number one, employ a veterinarian, licensed veterinary technician, or both in the operation of a veterinary facility. B, place in the possession of a veterinarian, licensed veterinary technician, or other agent such as veterinary material or equipment as may be necessary for the management of a veterinary facility on the basis of a lease or any other agreement for compensation for use of such material, equipment, or offices. Or retain the ownership or control of veterinary equipment, material, or office, and make the same available in any manner for the use of a veterinarian, licensed veterinary technician, or other agent. The term person as used in this section shall not in any way pertain to state, county, municipal, or city institutions, but shall be deemed to include any individual, firm, partnership, corporation, or other entity not licensed to practice veterinary medicine in the state of Alabama. Nothing in this subsection shall apply to bona fide sales of veterinary equipment, material, or office secured by a chattel, mortgage, or retention of title agreement, or to an agreement for the rental of the equipment or office by a bona fide lease at a reasonable amount, and under which agreement the licensee under this chapter maintains complete care, custody, and control of said equipment and its practice. Further, nothing in this subsection shall prohibit or restrict persons, firms, or corporations from employing or retaining licensed veterinarians to furnish veterinary treatment for their employees or dependents of their employees. Number two, a prohibited business arrangement or relationship as defined in subsection A above shall not be considered a violation of that subsection if a prohibited arrangement or relationship results from the death of a licensed veterinarian and is cured within 24 months of the date of that death. The purpose of this section is to prevent a non-veterinarian from influencing or otherwise interfering with the exercise of a veterinarian's independent professional judgment. In addition to the acts specified in subsection A, no person other than a veterinarian licensed in accordance with this chapter shall enter into a relationship with a person licensed under this chapter pursuant to which said unlicensed person exercises control over the following: the selection of a course of treatment for a patient, the procedures or materials to be as a part of such courses of treatment, and the manner in which such course of treatment is carried out by the licensee, the patient records of a veterinarian, policies and decisions relating to pricing, credit, refunds, warranties, and advertising, and decisions relating to office personnel and hours of practice. Number 4, any licensed veterinarian or licensed veterinary technician who enters into any of the arrangements or relationships as described in subsection A or subsection C above with any unlicensed person as defined above may be subject to any of the penalties set forth in section 342988. Now, I think we have several people that signed up to address that issue. Pull me 5 cards.
They need to be a veterinarian.
Okay, as she calls your name, come up, we're going to have 5 people speak in favor of it and 5 opposed to it. So I don't think we have anybody, nobody's in favor of it.
Honest thing I've ever heard.
He didn't read it. He didn't read everything, but he skipped the number. He skipped the numbers.
Okay, yes ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right now.
So, as much fan mail as I've gotten, I thought everybody knew that. I'm Robert Pittman. I'm president of the State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners.
Okay, we kind of did it by process of elimination, but we weren't sure.
That wasn't an oversight on purpose, I guarantee you. But I tell you, we've only got 18 people that signed up to speak, and we've got enough time within the time constraints where all 18 of them can speak. Limited to 2 minutes. You can say a lot in 2 minutes if you know what you want to say. So we'll call your name, and when you want to pull your face in this, but we'll call your name, and if you will come to the podium and introduce yourself, and we'll hear you out for 2 minutes anyway.
Yes, they will have to call it.
Miss Joy Baird.
Would you please speak up, sir? Thank
Speak
you.
up. Can't hear.
She heard.
Perhaps instead of standing in front of the podium, speakers could stand in the center of the room. That way everyone in the room has a better chance of hearing.
Most of the people in the foyer. A lot of people out in the foyer.
Maybe you can turn the podium to the side. So that
We have to have the podium like it is, I'm sorry, because we have to have it videoed for state purposes. That's the law. I'm sorry.
Speak up, please.
Move the video out here.
As he said, I'm Dr. Joy Baird. I'm the veterinarian at the North Alabama Spay and Neuter Clinic. I thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak today. As I'm sure you already know, I'm opposed to your proposed new rule 930X 1.39. I understand that a board such as yourself is charged with maintaining standards of care for animals, and I am 100% in support of that initiative. I can also understand a level of concern with nonprofit veterinary clinics, as those businesses are not like traditional hospitals. However, I have worked in nonprofit veterinary clinics for the last 5 years, and I've seen nothing but excellent quality of care in those facilities. In my own clinic, I adhere strictly to the quality of care guidelines for high-quality, high-volume spay-neuter facilities that were published in JAVMA and authored by the American Association of Shelter Veterinarians. I feel that I give an absolutely excellent quality of care to my patients. I do my own preoperative exams. I decide whether a patient is healthy enough for surgery. Every patient is given an opioid injection and an incisional splash block for pain control. Medicam is available to go home. We recover the patients in the operating room with us so that they are monitored constantly during recovery. This new rule, sirs, could potentially punish clinics like mine that are actually operating at a very high standard of care and whose sole mission is to help animals. I'd also like to point out to the board that I visited or worked in many traditional small animal hospitals before I went to vet school. Many of those hospitals used only injectable anesthesia, not gas. Many of those practices did not give a single bit of pain relief, much less opioids. I've also seen private practices in which veterinary assistants, not even licensed technicians, were doing preoperative exams, and the veterinarians did not set eyes on the patient until they were prepped for surgery. I believe firmly that the board should be addressing the concerns I just mentioned, not regulating business relationships of veterinarians. Business relationships of veterinarians have absolutely nothing to do with quality of care. I'm asking the board to rethink this new rule. Do not pass it. Instead of passing this rule, write regulations that ensure high quality of care is maintained in all veterinary clinics in our state. I must also request that anyone who has contracts with the local or state government for animal control and euthanasia remove themselves from voting on this issue, as I believe those contracts create a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Mr. Jim Bircher.
Bircher? Can you hear me? Yeah! First thing I'll do, I sent a letter to the board last week. I did not get a response back, but I've had very nice phone calls discussing it. I will read the letter that I sent up. I live in Irondale. There is a facility called Alabama State and we are a small town that's a little short of cash right now. I will read the letter to Mrs. Wallace. I'm aware of services provided by the Alabama Spay Neuter Organization and the upcoming hearing on October 10th, 12th. I have reviewed the notice of intended action and in my limited University of Education out of Texas, I found part of it to be full of male bovine fecal material legalese. I will translate that for somebody if you need it. Best description in the Birmingham News of 9/26 appears that somebody wants to shut somebody's business down. The transmittal sheet of the first section has yes, 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 and I didn't understand half of what was being said. Granted, I'm not that smart. But now when we come to the does the proposed rule have an economic impact, I respectfully submit the following questions. Does the organization pay property taxes? Does the organization employ legal U.S. citizens? Does the organization withhold federal and state taxes from employee paychecks? Do employees of the organization shop and dine locally in Irondale, which needs every penny it can get? Do customers of the organization ever shop and dine in local Irondale? Yes or no? Do many of the customers use the organization find themselves pressed by current financial conditions nationally, but still wish to be responsible pet owners? I offer that, and I would say personally, having been in charge of animal control on 2 large Air Force bases in which euthanasia was carried out with exhaust fumes, and if they were running loose on the runways or the taxiways, I had to handle it with a shotgun. So my heart goes out to anybody that has to put an animal down, and my heart goes out for the strays that end up that way. It breaks my heart. I would offer, if the state of Alabama ever wanted to shut somebody down, shut down some puppy mills and kitten mills. Amen. I'm used to Toastmasters light going on.
So,
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Margaret Farrell.
Good morning, I'm Margaret Farrell. I graduated from Auburn University's College of Veterinary Medicine in 2009. As the lead veterinarian at Alabama Spay Neuter, I am in charge of all aspects involving veterinary medicine in the clinic. I decide which drugs and anesthesia protocols we use and ensure all equipment is routinely inspected and serviced. We do use pain medication and all individual surgery packs are autoclaved. All patients are carefully screened and examined by a veterinarian prior to surgery. Blood work is available. All ill, injured, or debilitated pets are declined and referred to a full-service clinic. How is it possible for me to do 40 surgeries in a day? I trained for it. High-quality, high-volume techniques allow for smaller incisions, less discomfort, shorter anesthesia times, and faster healing times for the patient. The focus is always on quality, not quantity. The board already has the right to investigate the practices operating in nonprofit clinics, as well as the veterinarians contracting their services at these clinics, and can shut them down if they are operating illegally. No one from the board has visited my clinic for an investigation, and no one has ever investigated me. The quality of care at Alabama Spay Neuter is excellent and far exceeds minimum standards. Veterinarians and nonprofits do not have their medical judgment influenced by non-veterinarians. Veterinarians are ultimately the ones who control over their licenses, and the board has the authority over veterinarians no matter where or who they work for or what equipment they work with. Therefore, the proposed rule changes are not needed. We all love animals, and no one likes to see healthy animals euthanized. But if adoptable animals are still being destroyed in every shelter in our state, how can veterinarians say overpopulation is not a problem and the efforts of nonprofit clinics to spay and neuter pets is hurting their business? The sad truth is, when veterinarians disagree, the animals suffer. If the board of veterinarians are truly concerned about animal welfare and protection of the public, which is in the oath we all took to become veterinarians, these clinics must remain open. These rules if passed will affect nonprofit shelters and zoos from having a veterinarian at all. I'd rather the board work to find a way to keep these clinics operating legally in a way with which all parties involved are comfortable with what is going on. Safe, quality medicine being performed and dictated by licensed veterinarians, rather than work so hard to create loopholes in which the clinics could be shut down and nonprofit shelters and zoos find themselves without a way to have a veterinarian on staff. I'm asking the board to vote no on today's proposed rule changes. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next up is Miss Rhea Cord.
Good up, girl. I'm also a 21-year Army person. I have a voice too. So I sent a letter, and to make sure that everybody does get this on record, I am going to go and read my letter. That this letter even has to be written is a sad state of affairs for those of us who work in the animal welfare community when we seem to be at odds with the regulatory arm of the Alabama veterinary profession. When I started in this field as a shelter director over 8 years ago, I would never have dreamed that the very profession charged with improving the lives of animals would have individuals so focused on impeding work to reduce overpopulation and on the efforts to improve the health and welfare of animals in our state. Alabama is not the first state to have low-cost spay-neuter clinics for dogs and cats, far from it. There are over 100 such clinics across the country, 4 of which are here in Alabama. These 4 clinics are likely the saturation level for our state, so that all efforts against 4 clinics when there's approximately 1,000 vets seems to be a little bit focused. As a humane shelter director in Elmore County, I've worked with the Alabama Animal Alliance, the first clinic in the state, since they opened in 2007. It's my observation that since they commenced, there's been a notable increase in not only veterinary clinics in the river region, but the expansion of many of those same clinics with additional veterinarians on staff. Since much of the off-record argument against low-cost spay-neuter appears to be about business competition, the growth of private practices in the river region in the past 5 years would seem to be a direct refutation of any competition concerns. I'm particularly qualified to address the allegations of substandard quality of care in these clinics, since my shelter's had over 3,000 dogs and cats spayed and neutered in the AAA since 2007. Of these 3,000 surgeries, I've had a complication rate post-surgical of 0.26%. I don't think that is statistically significant. It is noticeable also that, as far as my knowledge, in any of the inspections of the AAA, there has never been a finding. So it is my opinion that consistent allegations of poor quality veterinary work are at best incorrect and at worst slanderous. As a shelter director and a pet owner, I do want to know that these clinics are held to the same level of medical practice as any other clinic. That's the role I do want you to play. I want you to make sure that the veterinarians performing these and that the clinics are operating at a professional level. These clarifications, I'm sorry, I thought I heard a question. These clarifications, however, seem to be an attempt to stop and in-run the legislative process and close down the spay-neuter clinics. Human hospitals, dental hospitals, many doctors work for nonprofits and for-profit. Does not seem to affect the quality of patient-client care in that aspect. I would ask each member of the board to reflect on the AVMA's statement that said in 2008, spay-neuter programs are an integral, imperative part of veterinary medicine. These programs succeed in their mission to provide humane methods for neutering large numbers of cats and dogs. At this time, these programs are the best antidote to mass euthanasia of cats and dogs resulting from overpopulation.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Mr. William Mudd.
I'm speaking to these guys. I'll try to speak up. My name is William Mudd. I'm here on behalf of the Greater Birmingham Humane Society. I've been retained on behalf of that entity to represent its concerns and interests with regard to your proposed rule. I want to make the following comments. It is my opinion, I think it's, you can see, Doc, it's very clear that what your board's trying to do is rewrite the Code of Alabama. It's illegal. It's outside your powers to do so. It is my intention. It is my intention to derail those efforts, whatever it takes under the law, administrative exhaustive remedies, declaratory judgment action, and the circuit court system. Your board has concluded that the absence of the proposed rule significantly harm or endanger the public health, welfare, and safety. You concluded that it would. I believe that's false. What you're doing is going to create an animal explosion in this state. The more animals there are, the more likelihood of rabies, the more likelihood of people getting bit by rabid dogs. That is not in the best interest of the public safety. You already have rules and regulations which you have enacted to deal with licensed veterinarians or people who are not licensed veterinarians who are providing substandard care. Follow your existing rules and stop trying to rewrite the Code of Alabama. The proposed rule has no rational relationship to your ultimate goal. You claim that there's some undue influence being provided by non-vets to a licensed veterinarian. I'm unaware of that happening for GBHS. We've had licensed veterinarians who we want to provide the best care above the standard of care. It's what we want. It's what you should be looking for. I'm unaware of any investigations, inspections of the GBHS clinic until just very recently when our vet was told, Kelly Johnson, that she was acting in contravention to the Veterinarian Act. No explanation was given to her about that to date. Not a single explanation has been given to her. I've asked for an explanation. I've gotten no response. Zero. No transparency, no written responses I've requested, and it's stunning to me how you do business. Or don't do business. The cost of these spay neuter services is going to go up because people are going to have to go to vet clinics, and the cost, I believe, just any way you can dispute this, is higher than what these non-profit spay neuter clinics and or the Humane Society is providing. There is a harmful impact to the public, economically, safety, welfare, and what you're doing, in my humble opinion, is illegal, it's wrong, it's self-serving, it's economic driven, and it will be false.
Yeah, that's right.
Rachel Tears.
Right. Go, Rachel.
Go for it now. Come on.
Thank you. I'm Rachel Tears. I'm the director of Alabama Animal Alliance Spay Neuter Clinic. All of the 36,000 animals that have had surgery at our clinic are completed by fully licensed veterinarians. Dr. Rebecca Davidson, owner of the Spay Neuter Clinic, received her license in 1980. Dr. Catherine Byers received her license in 1998. Dr. Davidson and Dr. Byers are the only two veterinarians who perform surgery in accordance at our clinic. In accordance with state law, the veterinary practice that performs the surgeries is owned by a state licensed veterinarian who has full autonomy and makes all medical decisions, including but not limited to the number of surgeries performed per day, animals approved and refused for surgery, and all aftercare decisions. All animals who have surgery at our clinic receive a free follow-up exam to ensure that the surgical site is healing as we expect that it should. If there are post-operative complications, we'll provide care for the animals. If more care is needed than can be provided at our clinic, the patient is referred to a full-service veterinarian. Our spay neuter clinic has been inspected by your board and received permits to operate for each of the 5 years we have been in existence. The standard of care provided at our clinic exceeds standards. If standard of care was lacking, permits would not have been issued. The services provided by this nonprofit clinic are related to spay neuter procedures and not to providing wellness services nor the full range of veterinary services provided at general veterinary practices. Dr. Rebecca Davidson has been performing surgeries at our clinic since it opened October 22nd in 2007 and has owned the clinic since January of 2008. Dr. Byers joined our clinic in 2010. The singular mission of the Alabama Animal Alliance Spay Neuter Clinic is to provide high quality, high volume spay neuter procedures at affordable rates. The nonprofit supporting board of directors helps raise funds for facilities, supplies, through educating the public as to both the importance and availability of low-cost spay neuter procedures. If there were any concern about how we administer our funds and what the nonprofit does with the funds, which certainly wouldn't be the board's concern, all of our information is available on Forms 990 that are required that we make public. And if I could just say one more thing, because we're a nonprofit and we're able to raise funds and get grants funds, the average cost of a subsidized surgery at our clinic is $18.74.
Wow.
For those individuals that don't receive a subsidized surgery, the average cost is $56.25. There's no way a full-service veterinary clinic can provide these services with all the pain management medication following the anesthesia protocol that you've heard the doctors refer to at our costs.
Thank you. Miss Deborah Evans.
Go, Deborah.
I'll be brief. I'm Deborah Evans. I'm from Covington County. I did send a letter in, and I just wanted to say this morning that I am the public that you exist to protect. And I believe this board has lost its way and is just out of touch with the public that you exist to protect. Whatever your grievance is with low-cost, nonprofit spay-neuter clinics, it is wrong. This proposed rule does nothing to serve the public interest or clarify anything. I implore you today to abandon this proposed rule change and embrace nonprofit spay-neuter clinics in Alabama as a means to eliminate pet overpopulation and the euthanasia of healthy, adoptable animals in Alabama. They are suffering, and what you are proposing to do will do nothing but increase that suffering. Thank you.
Mark Nielsen.
One more.
You're going to ordinance these rules for one very simple reason. I feel these rules were
Speak up, Mark.
I feel these rules were designed targeting the spay-neuter clinics in this state for nonprofits. I've heard quality of care issues is the reason for this. There are no quality of care issues in these clinics. The board has full power, all the power in the world, to shut any clinic down if there's ever a true issue with quality of care. These rules aren't necessary for that. Currently, the 4 clinics are in complete compliance with the code. These rules will make it very difficult for us to remain in compliance. The state needs these clinics. We've done over 100,000 surgeries in the last 5 years, and very important because it has served to decrease the overpopulation of companion animals in this state, and that's the reason we're here. Very simple, and these rules go into effect and have an adverse effect on the spay-neuter clinics. Really, the people, not the people, but the entity that suffers are the dogs and cats that will end up in shelters, end up on the streets, end up starving, end up being euthanized at the shelters. The only reason 4 clinics are here is to help animals. And I would ask the board, we need your support to accomplish this mission. Y'all are here to serve the public just like we are. So I would ask you, please vote no on this rule. Thank you.
Melissa Davidson.
Hello, my name is Melissa Davidson. I'm actually from Madison County, Alabama. Grew up here for one specific reason. The vets in the low-cost spay-neuter clinics give their lives, their time, and sacrifice money and time with their families to help lower the amount of unwanted animals due to unneeded pregnancies. I am on a very limited income, like many others in this state, and wouldn't be able to afford spay and neuter my pets without the low-cost spay and neuter clinics. Please oppose this rule. Thank you.
Thank you. Lou Mosley.
All right, Lou, go.
Speak up.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to address this rule. My name is Lou Mosley, and I'm from Calhoun County. I am on the board of directors for an organization called SAVE, Saving Animals Volunteer Effort, and we help subsidize the cost of spaying and neutering cats and dogs for people who are on low and fixed incomes. The spay-neuter clinic over in Irondale sends a wonderful crew over to Calhoun County twice each month, and usually that truck is pretty much loaded with cats and dogs. We have a feral program that we work with the spay-neuter clinics on. It is not unusual the couple of times that I have worked on these transports to see people bring in 10 cats and send them all to be spayed and neutered to help reduce pet overpopulation. during the short time that SAVE has been in existence, we have paid for or helped to pay for 1,300 surgeries. That's hundreds of clients who could not afford this on their own. Now, I think one of the questions that is mentioned, one of the problems is mentioned, having people who are not veterinarians own the clinics. Let me ask you this. Who likes football? I love football. One of my favorite teams is the Denver Broncos. You know who owns the Broncos? Pat Bolin. Pat never touched a football. He never played football. He did not make his money in football. But he owns a terribly successful, some years, football team. He has good managers who know what they are doing. He's got good equipment. He has good players. That is how he is successful. You do not have to have played football in order to own a successful football franchise. If we do not have access to these low-cost spay-neuter clinics, the pet overpopulation problem in Alabama is going to explode, and we'll really have a problem on our hands then. Please devote your energies to helping us establish more low-cost spay-neuter clinics and not shut down the ones that we already have.
And Broom.
My name is Ann Broom, and I work with another lady, and we have a rescue shelter in Alberta, Alabama, which stays completely full all the time. I have nothing but respect for the intelligence and the education of veterinarians. You've had a lot of barbed comments toward you this morning. Perhaps you'd like to have a time when you could respond back, other than certification, other than profit. Could you tell us why you feel that way about the spay and neuter clinics? If the certification is there, if the animals are well cared for, if we have a problem, what is your position, and why do you feel that they need to be eliminated?
We would like to respond to that, but this is not the forum for it. Thank you for your comment. Annie Crenshaw. Annie Crenshaw.
Annie Crenshaw. Annie Crenshaw. Coming.
Back here. Woo, somebody please turn the heat off.
Don't turn the heat on.
Gentlemen and ladies of the board, I'm a member of the Butler County Humane Society. I'm not an officer in any organization related to animals.
Ma'am.
Right in the middle of the podium?
Okay, that's good.
Don't move.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a member of the public, and I can tell you from experience in Crenshaw County, Butler County, Connecticut County, Wilcox County, Lowndes County, the area in which our Butler County Humane Society helps people, not only in their county. We have helped spay and neuter hundreds and hundreds of animals, not thousands but hundreds. We're working on it through the Alabama Animal Alliance. Rachel Tears and Dr. Rebecca Davison have done an excellent job. We have never had one bit of trouble, no medical problems, nothing to complain about. I've been in and out of that clinic 100 times myself. They are wonderful people helping animals. For the board to consider putting this clinic and these other clinics out of business is criminal. When I visited the board office yesterday and delivered another letter from one of the many people in our area who sent letters, there was a 2-foot stack of unread letters, and I asked the receptionist, who I will not name, but she knows who she is, will they possibly read my letter before the meeting tomorrow? She said, oh no. And I said, have they read any of these letters? She said, oh no. I rest my case. Thank you.
Parker.
Parker!
Parker!
Get him, Rhonda.
Mom, Dr. Parker. I'm Dr. Rhonda Parker. I'm the state chair of the Alabama Voters for Responsible Animal Legislation. I represent a group of 6,000 Alabamians, and we're growing. And I know I've had the opportunity to speak with some of you in the past. And I got to tell you, Avril is extremely confused by a number of things. One of the things that we're confused about is why this board operates like a monarchy rather than a democracy. You operate very much like a star chamber. For example, whenever I reach out to, or whenever we reach out to Tammy Wallace to ask her for something as simple as a list of the currently registered animal shelters in the state, we're told we can't have that, when by law we're supposed to be able to have that. More specifically to this point, what we don't understand is when we go back to HB 156, what citations, violations, formal grievances have been issued against these clinics. You've completed a series of unannounced visits to these clinics. These clinics have passed. I think most recently Irondale passed with flying colors. So if there is evidence of substandard care, then you owe it to the public. Avril is not going to support clinics that don't do a good job.
That's right.
You owe it to the public to tell us what these problems are if they're not doing a good job. We haven't seen anything. You haven't issued anything. Moreover, we're concerned about this rule being extremely vague. We don't believe that it's a modification of existing law. We believe you're trying to do something entirely different. How will this affect shelter medicine? Are shelters that sterilize pets, do they have to be owned by veterinarians now? I mean, this is very unclear. You've made decisions that Rule 39 would not have an economic impact, and you could not be more wrong. It has an economic impact on the poor and the working poor. It has an economic impact on shelters and rescues. And it has an economic impact on the taxpayers whose dollars support shelters. And that's who I'm here to represent. Thank you very much.
Brian Applefield.
Applefield.
Very good. I am Brian Applefield. I'm a business executive from Dothan, Alabama. I am also president of the Ryegrass Spay and Neuter Alliance. I'm considered much more pragmatic than a fanatic. Our clinic is a 501c3. 100% of all funds that come into our clinic go to the care of animals, period. The standard of care in our clinics meets or exceeds every standard set by the State Licensing Board, as evidenced by the 3.5 years that we've been in existence, when every inspection has passed. Further, the veterinarian in our clinic owns the practice, makes all medical decisions, and is independent of any outside influence. She only follows the dictates of her profession and the best interest of every animal in her care. It is very disturbing that there are some in the veterinary community that actually question the need for affordable spay and neutering, and who suggest that whether or not low-cost spay and neutering actually is effective is a matter of opinion. This distorted view can only be explained by a total lack of interest in securing facts or willful deception. If you care to ask in our city, the mayor, the city manager, the council members for our city, for our county, the police chief, district attorney, or heaven forbid, walk into our clinic and ask our director of our shelter, you would find unanimously
that they recognize significant contribution that our clinic has made, both economically as well as socially. There are some, perhaps on this board, perhaps in this room, that are so dogmatic in their preconceived opinions that there's absolutely nothing I or anyone could say or any irrefutable fact that I could bring to the table that would change your minds. I'm going to finish by quoting Gandhi, if you will allow me. The greatness of a community and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. As this board goes into executive session, I would only hope that they will do the right thing, the moral thing, not just for the privileged in our state and their animals, but for every citizen of the state and every animal in the state. Thank you.
Dr. Carol Denman.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Carol Evans. I'm from Jackson County, Alabama. I'm a dentist, and I'm an animal lover. That's the reason I was put on this planet. And I don't have to tell you how important these spay neuter clinics are to everyone. That having been said, in my profession, we're seeing problems with these nonprofit clinics. We have had something like 12 clinics in the state. I won't name them, but they came in under the name of benevolence, and they started taking away all of our patients. They started bleeding the taxpayers, and they're going into the schools. They're getting all these children. They're going into the delivery wards. They're getting them when they're born. They're already ready to go to the dentist when they're 6 months old. The reason I'm saying this is these clinics need to exist, but they need to exist in the right care, people that have true vested interest. These dental clinics I'm talking about, we're talking about CEOs that are making $3 million a year, clearing $3 million a year, and things like this, and these are not for profit. These are things that most of us can't fathom, whether we're animal lovers, rescuers, or whether we're veterinarians. You know, most of us have all taken a vow of poverty one way or the other. And we can't imagine that. You know, I mean, I stopped on my way over here to pick a kitten up that had been run over in the street on Clay Street. It didn't make it, but I had my crate ready to get it if it could have been. I don't do these things for fun, and I sure don't make any money doing this, and I think I can speak for most of these people. But I also think I can speak for most of the vets that they have all done labors of love, and they have a vested interest in their business. And I think the concern for them is the same thing we have in dentistry, is some entity taking over that is just looking to get rich off of, yet again, a very unfortunate situation. What I'm asking is that you table this rule, that we turn it over to the legislation, perhaps let these clinics, if they cannot be owned by veterinarians, to be owned by the state, such as public health and things like this, so it would be more accessible to the public, perhaps having more of them, because we definitely need more, but we don't let the genie out of the bottle like what's happened with us. We are suffering now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jennifer Champ Wallace.
My name is Jennifer Champ Wallace. I am here as a board director of Shelby Humane Society and its legal counsel. I am here representing an organization that cares for more than 5,000 animals a year. And I would just like to say, for the record, I reiterate the press release that we released. We stand with the Alabama Spay Neuter Clinics and all of those that are truly, truly dedicating their lives to the betterment of animal welfare in Alabama. First of all, I have a couple of questions for you, specifically as to how this proposed regulation would affect nonprofit corporations acting as humane societies on behalf of cities and municipalities. And if it is truly your intent to shut down those organizations, how do you plan to handle the influx of stray animals in an already overpopulated state? Also, I would like to state that Shelby Humane Society is staffed by dedicated volunteers and staff, and we do everything we can to support the betterment of animal welfare in Alabama, in addition to transporting those animals out of state, because our state, as you have to be well aware, is so overburdened with stray animals and animal overpopulation that we have to transport those animals to other states that have comprehensive animal welfare legislation. So our stance is that this proposed rule is morally, ethically, and legally wrong, and we will fight it. Thank
you. Michelle Amaral.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Amaral, and I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I work as a neuroscientist. I have a PhD that I've worked for a long time for that. And I'm here representing the Shelby Humane Society in Columbiana, Alabama. I want to reiterate as well what Jennifer just said about our press release stating that we stand with Alabama's spay neuter. We stand with all of the clinics in the state that support low-cost spay neuter. I think that in this time of economic difficulties, it's extremely important for the citizens of the state to be able to have low-cost spay neuter. I think it's dangerous to have dogs and cats, stray animals running around everywhere. And because of the overburden and the overpopulation of animals here just in Shelby County alone, we have to ship them north just to try to keep from euthanizing them. In 5 years, almost 6 years, we've transported almost 6,000 dogs to the New England states. We're making a difference in the lives of the citizens in New England, because it has been scientifically proven that companion animals help your health and is an aid to your health. So I urge you to vote no on this proposed regulation and to promote the health and well-being of the people in our state. Thank you.
Stephen Tears.
Hello, my name is Stephen Tears. I'm the director of the Montgomery County Humane Society, and I wanted to take the time to thank you for hearing not only myself but everybody else. To implement Rule 39 as written would have a disastrous effect, not only on my shelter, but shelters across the state. I believe if you took a poll of the veterinarians across the state of Alabama, you'd probably come back with how much better humane societies and rescues are doing with their animals, and the quality of care and the quality of animal that's going into the forever loving home has greatly increased over the past 5 years. As written, Rule 39 would remove the ability of shelters to care for the animals and result, to say the least, in a spike in euthanasia. MHS has utilized the service for AAA, the Alabama Animal Alliance, since 2007 and have done thousands and thousands of surgeries with just a handful of post-operative issues, most of which was just handling of the dog. The services provided by AAA has resulted in a significant increase in our adoptions due to a better quality of animal, with more services completed to go into the forever loving home, and a dramatic decrease in our euthanasia rate. If these spay neuter clinics were not an option, how would humane organizations comply with state law considering spaying and neutering animals? In Montgomery alone, we attempted to utilize the veterinary community, and quite honestly, functioning a full-service veterinary clinic requires a lot of your time to take care of your current clients, and they just were not able to handle our volume. If these spay-neuter facilities are no different than any other state, and they are the solution to all rescues and humane societies to comply with state law and reduce their euthanasia rates. In closing, my hope is that you will table this issue and weigh in the opinions of concerned citizens both in this room and outside. And please consider the full effect of Rule 39 to the whole state of Alabama. As written, will have disastrous effects on shelters, rescues, spay-neuter clinics. The euthanasia rate will skyrocket, and the tax dollars required to function our facilities will, I venture to say, increase by the millions. Thank you.
Bobby Yo.
My name is Bobby Yo, and I'm the director of the Lee County Humane Society. I'm fairly new to sheltering work. I just started June 1, actually. And I'm also new to the South, and I am just mortified to see the problems that I see here in terms of animal overpopulation. In our Humane Society, we take in 5,500 to 6,000 animals a year, and we euthanize 70% of those animals, anywhere from 3,500 to 4,000 a year. Our employees are 18 to 25 years old. That's who our county hires to euthanize these animals. A lot of them are animal science students, veterinary, pre-veterinary students, and they come here because they love animals and they want to make a difference. And much of what they do is destroy these animals, that are many of which are perfectly adoptable. I also sent a letter last week, and I'm just going to go over the contents of it. Basically what I did is I looked at the assertions made by the board in support of this new rule, and the first one was that the absence of the proposed rule would significantly harm or endanger the public health, welfare, or safety. Overpopulation of companion animals in Alabama, primarily dogs and cats, currently poses a public health and safety issue, both to animals and humans. Tens of thousands of excess and unwanted companion animals are pulled off the streets and held in high intake facilities around the state of Alabama every year. Municipalities support these facilities at the lowest possible levels, and the quality of care provided to these animals in many of our decaying facilities is shameful. These unwanted animals are often sick upon entering these facilities, or they get sick during their required 7-day holding period. Many are unvaccinated. Parasites are rampant, as are diseases such as kennel cough, distemper, parvo, and FIP. Without rabies vaccinations, this dreaded disease poses a particular risk to the general public when animals are loose in large numbers. As few as 20 to 30% of these shelter animals do not make it into adoption, while the rest are euthanized and dumped into landfills. And I'm not going to have time to go over the rest of the assertions and my arguments against them. I know you haven't read it yet, but I hope that you will read what I
Susan Beatty Pierce.
Susan Pierce. Close. You're sitting too close.
Good morning. I'm Susan Beatty Pierce. My address is Birmingham. I live in Shelby County, North Shelby County. And I will speak up as much as I can, but I do appreciate you letting me speak today. This is a wonderful opportunity. I don't think maybe you were aware of the storm that has taken over Birmingham and Shelby County, and as a result of this, I lived in Shelby County, Irondale, from 86 to 2000. And my husband had to live next door to Oak Mountain State Park, so we live in Shelby County now. But I have never been more impressed with the people of Irondale and that community, especially this facility I toured yesterday in Irondale. There's my veterinarian is Dr. William Weber, who is he's on the board, I understand, for that facility. And I have such respect for what y'all do. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not an attorney. I'm not on anybody's payroll being today. I'm a citizen. I lived in Irondale. I saw how it came together, and I still drive from Shelby County for his services. And I'm so proud of what Irondale has produced. That facility is, I tell you, Governor Bentley wants to tour at something that is efficient, and he's got to save tax dollars. He needs to tour this facility. That's right. Working at Department of Health, Corrections, DHR, and now Department of Labor, we have a facility right down from this facility of 60 employees. We are a secure facility. We're the unemployment call center. Now that I've outed the entire department on camera, but they are so proud of all the employees there support this facility. All of my employees use this facility. This is a state-of-the-art facility. State employees have taken tremendous cuts, as you all know, in the papers, are like an open book right now. And this facility has made these families meet their ends. It's just a tremendous opportunity. And for y'all to allow this to here today, this is your legacy. And I know you take your jobs and responsibilities very seriously. And my niece, who called me crying hysterically, is a senior at Auburn. I have a nephew that's a sophomore. What's going on? They could not be here today. And I am here for all the people that could not be here today, that want to be here, that please don't let this be your legacy. Please do not make this on the national headlines of Alabama, one more black eye. We can't take anyone. We can't take anyone.
Thank you, Ms. Beard.
Thank you for
Billy Asher.
Billy Asher. Billy Asher.
Billy Asher.
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 Okay.
In the hallway. I'm not real familiar with what all's going on here, because I've been sat out in the hallway and stuff. I'm from Dothan. I have a small grooming clinic. We use the revenue that's raised for the spading of animals. We do not use it for income because I'm a retired GM factory person. And as I understand it, because there's not a whole lot of stuff out there on the internet on any of this, that you're trying to eliminate how the spay and neuter clinics are owned by a veterinarian. Well, one of my best friends owns a dental clinic. He has never been to college or high school. He does not practice dentistry. He owns a dentistry. And it's a cut rate similar to Dixie Dental, except it's in Kansas City, where I'm from. And by having a veterinarian or a licensed person to own a spay and neuter clinic just makes no sense to any reasonable person. Anybody should be able to own it as long as the proper licensed staff are the ones that are in charge. And that's basically all I have to say. I thank you very, very much for giving me the opportunity to say it. And it's a pleasure meeting you. Although it's not in person, I still enjoy it.
Catherine Jane Asher. She's out there.
Miss Asher.
My name is Catherine Asher. I am a resident of Houston County. As I understand it, this decision won't affect our clinic down there because it is vet-owned. However, for the rest of the clinics in the rest of the state, who owns the clinic should make no difference whatsoever on the cleanliness, the quality of the care. If a veterinarian wants to own an accounting firm, they can. They don't have to be an accountant. They just need to hire accountants to do the job. As long as a veterinarian is in charge of the clinic, it's up to that veterinarian to keep things up to code, keep things nice, as long as y'all are doing your job in inspecting. everything should be good. So who owns the clinic should have nothing to do with quality. Also, as far as the income competition is concerned, I have never been into my veterinary office and been able to walk right in. I have always had a line of people in front of me. I have never seen them wanting for customer. Also, if I had to go to the veterinarian to get the animals spayed and neutered that I do take care of, I would not be able to afford it. I have paid for the spay and neuter for my neighbor's dog, paid for the spay and neuter of another neighbor's dog who is currently moved, paid for the spay and neuter of 7 puppies that a dog had that I took into my home that another neighbor would not take care of. I had to pay for all of them. If I had to do this at a full-cost clinic, I would not have been able to afford it. Also, I'm a dog groomer. I know that many of my customers are low-income or fixed-income elderly people, and they do not have the money to go and spend a few $100s on a spay and neuter when they can have it done at the clinic and have it done at a lower cost and still be able to afford the other things that they need for their animals and for the care of themselves. Thank you.
Tracy Collins.
My name is Tracy Colvin. I'm from Moody, Alabama. I don't have a speech in front of me today. I'm speaking from my heart. All I know is what's sitting in front of me. If you are the panel that is voting for this, I don't understand how you can live with yourself. You call yourself veterinarians. You are supposed to help our animals, and yet you want to close down spay and neuter clinics and cause all these unwanted animals in our state, causing so many more to not have homes, to be euthanized daily. I am a single mom, and I started rescue 3 years ago. I'm not a 501c3. I started going to shelters, Alabama shelters, and rescuing Pekingese on my own. I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the money to spay and neuter them, but I do it. And I take them to these clinics where I can afford to spay and neuter these animals, and I do it on my dollar bill. But if I had to go to my vet every time and pay for this, I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't be able to rescue the dogs that I do. Honestly, this is all about greed. This is all what it boils down to. You people are greedy. I am a Christian person. I am proud to be a Christian person, and I go to bed at night, and my conscience is clear. But for you veterinarians that call yourself veterinarians, how do you go to bed at night wanting to cause so many thousands more of animals' deaths by wanting to close down these spay and neuter clinics? I don't understand that. I don't even see how you wake up during the day and have a clear conscience. And I don't know what to say other than if you vote against this and you're for this, I don't understand why there's so many people here that are against this. Who are the people that are for it?
Yes, that's right. Where are they at?
Where are they?
Kathy Bossman.
Kathy?
I'm here simply as concerns this, and I have no vested interest in this. I'm not a veterinarian, I'm not a dog groomer, not a 501(c)(3). I'm a taxpayer. And no prepared comments, so please forgive me, I'll just speak off the cuff. There are so many issues here. First of all, economic issues. why the veterinary board wants to take this tack and this to shut down the spaying and neutering of animals that can save taxpayer money. We're talking about the health, welfare, and public safety of people. Okay, that should be important too. Because, and I understand your attorney's on taxpayer dollars, correct me if I'm wrong, you have an attorney, but the taxpayers pay for it. Well, that's what I determined. You know, the second is, you know, I've always held veterinarians in very high regard. I would love to be a veterinarian. Things didn't take me that way. But, you know, this has just completely destroyed my opinion of the veterinary profession as far as the board goes. I spay and neuter probably 30 to 50 dogs and cats a year. I get my neighbors, I pick them up on the side of the road, I take care of them. I pay a full price vet. My vets, Dr. Dickey and Dr. Odom in Westover, Alabama, know that I do this out of my pocket. I'm not some kind of animal fringe extremist. I'm not one of those that's got, you know, order, got animals coming out my ears. I do this because I help the animals. Luckily, I can afford to do this. And I have a husband who, God bless him, you know, goes along with it. But there are low-income people, elderly people, people on fixed incomes that cannot do this. So they maybe want their companion animals favored. They want to help a neighbor. I just got to say, my respect for the board as a group, not getting a response to emails, not getting a response to phone calls, not getting a response to letters. I will spend every financial resource I and my husband have. I will spend my time and energy, like I did taking off from work today, to stop this from taking effect.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Teddy Joe Vaughn.
My name is Betty Jo Vaughn. Can y'all hear me? No. I'm from Barber County, Alabama. We have no animal control in our county whatsoever. Without the spay and neuter clinic in Dothan, we would have no way to pay for the 1,300 animals that my little organization has spayed or neutered this year. We live close enough, fortunately, to Georgia and Columbus. You shut them down over here, we're going to go over there. Our tax money will spend over there just like it will here. We're still getting our we'll go somewhere else.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Betty Kramer.
Thank you. I'm also from Barber County, and we transport 25 to 30 animals, depending upon the month, once or twice a month. People could not afford. We have animals that we raise money. We are not a rescue. Strictly spay and neuter is what we do to help these people. We cannot afford what the vets charge. The people cannot afford to pay it. We have a county that does not follow state law. By state law, they have to have a facility. They do not have one. They do not have an officer. There's nowhere for people to turn except they call us. There's 4 or 5 of us. We're all volunteers, and we get calls all times, day and night, for rescue, for this, for that. We're overwhelmed. But the one thing we can do, if these clinics are open, is we can reduce the population. As Joe told you, 1,300 animals have been spayed or neutered. And this is something that the people of Barber County, I don't know what would happen if you all disallowed these clinics. except like she said, we'd have to go to Georgia. And I don't think that's a very good comment about our state. I think we need to keep the things here. Everything that I have seen from the spay and neuter clinics has been awesome. They care about the animals, or they would not be doing this in nonprofit. I'm sorry, I can't say the same about some of the vets. And I just would like for you all to reconsider what you're doing.
Renee Klein.
I'm here. I too am from Barber County. We do not have, as the ladies have said, any shelter. I do have some questions for you though. I'd like your addresses so that I can take all of the animals from the pet overpopulation that we do not have. I would also like to know, if I'm incorrect on this, please let me know, but I was told by our vet that you all are the ones that run the tags, the cat and dog tags, for the Medicaid. That's incorrect?
That is correct.
It is correct or it isn't correct?
No, the Alabama VMA does.
Okay, then we need to talk to them. And I'd also like to just add, I too think we should change the name of Alabama the Beautiful to Alabama the Let Your Animals Run and Do Whatever They Want to Do, because nobody cares. That's right. And you people should be ashamed of yourselves, not only as this board, but as veterinarians. And we too, as PAL, as small as we are, we will do everything and anything humanly possible to get this knocked down. And if you really want to worry about something, please come to Barber County and make the county commission enforce the laws of the state. Shut the puppy mills down that are there.
Amen.
And I can take you right to a home in the middle of beautiful Eufaula that promotes dog fighting. Concentrate on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Fred Solomon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk loud enough for y'all to hear, but I don't want to overwhelm you folks. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Right there. I'm Fred Solomon. I'm from Elmore County. I'm a citizen, taxpayer. Back in February, my wife and I lost our Greta, our 11-year-old German Shepherd, our baby. And our life was so empty that we volunteered to be foster parents for animals, for dogs. We failed at that not once, but 3 times. Now we own 3 of these throwaways that would have otherwise been probably killed, because nobody would have adopted these animals, because they had issues, they had special needs, if you will. These animals would have been put down, no doubt about it. These 3 animals, these loving, life-enriching animals, I can tell you, because Twiggy, the one that was starved to death, WSFA was so good to bring to light, is on my pillow every night when I get ready to go to bed. The only crime that these animals committed that could have given them the death penalty was that they were born in a state where we could potentially cut off the very lifeline that kept these 3 animals alive long enough for us to have met. Now, this state can do better. My
Amen.
state that I love. Now, I'll tell you, the only thing that sickens me more about thinking that these clinics could be shut down would be that our culture has sunk to the point where we treat unwanted humans the same way. Please do not violate your fiduciary relationship with the people of this state and the animals. Please reconsider what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this morning. That concludes everybody that asked to speak. We appreciate your input, and your input will certainly be considered as we deliberate today. Thank you so much.
Don't be greedy.
Yeah.